Today we'll be exploring the magical Tuscan fortress town of Monteriggioni and finally scratching off one of the oldest items on my personal bucket list.
This is legitimately one of the coolest things I've ever done and the coolest places I've ever gone to.
Waking up in the charming town of Colle Val'Delsa, I am so excited for today because this adventure has been 15 years in the making, ever since I caught my first glimpse of Monteriggioni in Assassin's Creed 2. And not only am I going to finally spend the night in one of the coolest locations imaginable, I'm going to be arriving there by traveling along the Holy Pilgrim's Trail, the Via Francigena, popularized by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Sigeric the Serious, almost 1,000 years ago. In fact, Monteriggioni was built as a fortification directly on top of this established pilgrim's path to maintain control and order over such an important trade route. So you really can say that this is the best way to fully understand and appreciate Monteriggioni, hiking the very route that defined its existence.
But before I can achieve my dream of visiting Monteriggioni and finally scratching it off of my bucket list, well, I think I need to earn it first. Now the hike out of Colle, well, it illustrates something quite interesting about so many European roads, in that many of the unassuming asphalt tracks are actually ancient roads. However, I was studying my ordnance map the other day and I noticed, well, why would I follow the historic but ugly pilgrimage route along the side of a road when I could instead take a 500-meter detour and go down a nature preserve following along the river? So consider this little tweak to the journey the near-from-home variant of Sigeric the Serious's pilgrimage, and hopefully one that is a little better. A tiny bit of historical accuracy be damned. This is incredible. I mean, look at the water. It's so pure and clear. And that's coming from someone who lives in Bavaria as well. But this might be some of the best I have ever seen. It's just so idyllic and pastoral here. I feel like I've re-entered the Garden of Eden. And appropriately, I am also worried there are snakes everywhere. This is incredible. I am loving it here in the ecological park. How fun is this? I really hope I don't fall in and just like ruin the rest of the pilgrimage. No broken ankles here. What if I like vlog myself literally like yeeting myself off of this rock? Oh, no, it's easy. This is easy. Are you ever like really worried when you film someone doing something like that you're about to film like their demise?
Not their demise, maybe something hilarious.
I do hope Sigeric would be proud of my alteration to his route, because as the OG influencer who really popularized the Via Francigena with his well-documented travel guide, well, I feel a weird kinship to it. As like Sigeric, I hope to not only just inspire you with great travel tales, but empower you by imparting what knowledge and guidance that I can. And so I just feel so incredibly grateful to be able to add to that incredible compendium in whatever small way that I can. So here's a cheers to you, Sigeric, for getting the ball rolling. We really are always just standing on the shoulders of giants, and it's a damn good view from up here. Though as just a travel guide and not also an archbishop, do I still get a cool name? Ben, that I shared the video with my friends and they also really liked it. I feel like you would take Camille the Serious though.
Yeah, I would.
What would you give me?
Ben the Boastful.
Still though, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. What a truly wonderful, beautiful, and relaxing detour this has been. But now as we go around this bend, we're going to be merging back onto the official pilgrim's route, meaning that detour is officially over. And though we are well behind an ideal schedule, I don't think that matters at all. And just in case you need any final convincing that that detour is worth it, this is what we're skipping. Grazie. Not quite as inspiring, huh? I have never seen anything like this in my life, and fans of the channel will know, I've seen a lot of castles. I won't lie to you though, this steep hilltop climb to finally get to the gates, it's a lot, especially after such a long, hot hiking day like today. I am almost beat, but not entirely. We're getting to these gates. And so here we are, after over a decade of dreaming about this place, years of waiting, weeks worth of planning and days worth of hiking, we finally made it to the fortified north gate of the ancient medieval city of Monteriggioni. I am stunned, and if I wasn't so damn talkative, I'd be speechless too. This is legitimately one of the coolest things I've ever done, and the coolest places I've ever gone to. Say goodbye to pre-Monteriggioni Ben, because in a few seconds, he's gonna be gone forever. And say hello to a new Ben on a new day who's ready to explore this town. The main central piazza of Monteriggioni is incredibly charming and boasts all 4 restaurants that this town has to offer. However, at high noon with peak heat and peak tourism, it's probably not the best time to relax here. My recommendation is going to be much later in the evening, but I'll talk about that later. And it really might not seem like it at first blush, but Monteriggioni is way more than a one-street town. It pays dividends to be willing to just explore around and go through all the little jitties and alleyways. As if you do, you might just find yourself yet again away from all of the crowds and in a nice little pilgrim's oasis. Okay, so how about we finally address the elephant in the room and answer your most burning question. How accurate was the Assassin's Creed 2 video game in portraying Monteriggioni? Well, I'd say it's a mixed bag. From a macro perspective, I'd say they did quite well. The scale, the fortification walls, the defensibility, you know, the real soul of the place, that's decently well captured. It's only when you put it under a microscope and really start looking at like the street names and the layout of the interior that things are, you know, more fancifully interpreted. The Villa Auditore, where you spend most of your time, yeah, that's not real. That has never existed here. But also the concept of the shopkeepers and other people actually living in this fort, that holds up. I guess in the end, if you're gonna try to use the map from Assassin's Creed to navigate these streets, it's not gonna work. But if you are gonna use the game to inspire yourself to come out here, then you're gonna have a great time. But enough of the fantasy history, let's get to the real stuff. And I find the origin here just so compelling. Probably because fundamentally it can't be untangled from the Via Francigena that we've been hiking for so many days now. Unlike so many of the other towns that we've been going to that were simply connected by the pilgrim's route to make it work, Monteriggioni isn't just a town that was connected by this pilgrim's route, it was created as a fortification of that pilgrim's route, which I just think is so interesting. The north-south gates and the road between them are not just on the Via Francigena out of convenience, they are and always have been the Via Francigena. It's actually starting to get way busier than I anticipated. I really didn't think that many people would be coming here. And anybody who's even remotely familiar with this channel, well, they knew this was coming. But also, it's getting pretty busy in there. I mean, Monteriggioni isn't tourist unknown. I think a lot of people do come here, but nobody's actually walking the perimeter, and I think they're just missing out. But hey, their loss is our gain. This very well might be one of the best perimeter walks I've ever done, in part because it is a complete 360. The only ways in and out of Monteriggioni are the north and south gates. All of the other walls, still intact, still standing, and I sure can't climb them. And back over by the North Gate, which I think is my favorite, I'm reminded by this fantastic little plaque that it wasn't just Assassin's Creed 2 that popularized Monteriggioni in the media. But apparently a little known book called Dante's Inferno referenced this place quite a few times. And as you hike through the tower and towards the town itself, you do have to come back with some really interesting stone chevron tiling. If your feet land perfectly, not a problem. But if they don't, you're gonna slip.
Francigena top.
But besides simply enjoying the Piazza and getting lost in the jiddies, there is one major ticket item that I have been dreaming about: walking the ramparts. It'll cost you €4 for the privilege, but that will give you access to 2 separate battlements, one on the north and one on the south side, along with also getting access to a tiny little armament museum. I think of all the things we're gonna do here, this is what I've been most excited for, so let's go check it out. I honestly don't know which view I'm more inspired by, that of the Tuscan hills or of the town itself. Both are remarkable. But one point of honesty, I mean, what kind of travel guide would I be if I wasn't honest? And that's that the wall walk that you're doing isn't on the historic stone, but instead on kind of this suspended metal platform, which I don't really have a problem with, except for the fact that it's a little bouncy, a little slippery, and it's entirely see-through. Overall, it's not bothering me too much, but just don't look down. And I guess on the one hand, it is a little bit of a shame that when I finally make it to Monteriggioni, quite a bit of the walls are under renovation, but that's also just very bittersweet. Because even though, yes, I would prefer an unobstructed view, I'm also just really happy to see continued investment in the preservation of these walls. And so even though they might not be pristine for me right now, I know in the future they will be. And that gives me a satisfied peace of mind.
He is kind of a chonk.
Also, Monteriggioni has the most cats of anywhere I've been to in Italy. That's a big win in my book. Problem is with black cats is I can't tell if you're on camera. Can I sit with you now? Can we be friends? No. How do you know? Well, I hope I nailed that dialogue with the cat because I don't think I'm gonna get a second chance. Bye, kitty. I just wanted to love you. And probably one of the most surprising things about Monteriggioni, it's not the ambiance, it's not the beauty, it's not the history, it's the food, which is far better than I had anticipated it to be. I mean, any place where tourists kind of get bussed in and bussed out, usually the food's not so good, but here, genuinely wonderful. But if you want to know more about what we're eating, then you need to check out our Grand Italian Food Tour video, as this meal is going in there. And so what specifically did I get? Well, I went with the pichicha ciao e pepe, which is so difficult to pronounce. I thought it would be way slower, but every time the waiter says it, it's wonderful. But what is it? Well, it's a very classic pasta dish of butter, cheese, and black pepper. It's the kind of dish that it's not gonna taste good unless all of the constituent ingredients are good. There's nothing you can do to mask a bad ingredient here, which is why this dish can be so underwhelming or so amazing. It's all about the ingredients. But enough talking, let's dive right in. I also really love that they put it in kind of this little cheese bowl.
Oh, is it fried cheese?
I think it's like a fried cheese bowl. I really love it. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. First I have to eat pasta on camera. It's terrifying. That is genuinely incredible. The pasta is so delicious. It's got a wonderful kind of al dente crunch and mouthfeel to it. The ingredients are divine. This is really good. And so even though, yes, you could get this anywhere, I really wanted to share Monteriggioni with you and this fantastic dish to prove that this little tourist town still has a whole lot to offer. Let's try some of the crunchy cheese. It's like I don't know if anyone had the Domino's pizza pasta bowl. It was like one of my favorite things ever. Maybe I shouldn't admit that on camera. I really love that. This is like that, but really classy. Not that that matters, but still. So I've had this all over during our Grand Italian vacation, but never have I had it quite this good, and never have I had it with a little cheese bowl. So I'm really glad I waited to share this with you in Monteriggioni, as not only did I want one more excuse to show off this wonderful town, but I wanted to prove that it's also a good foodie destination as well. Now, after spending a wonderful evening here and the better part of a day, I think I'm finally really starting to suss out the vibes of Monteriggioni, because there's a whole lot more than meets the eye. In fact, I almost think there are two towns, one at noon and one at night. During the height of the day, there are just so many people passing through, and it can get pretty hectic. Not to mention, with the sun belting down, it's pretty hot and uncomfortable. But at night though, this place is completely different. As soon as the sun goes down, Monteriggioni becomes a romantic foodie paradise. I kid you not, I had one of the best meals I've had in Italy here last night, with some of the best ambiance of my life, between me, Camille, and the other 20 people that were here. Walking around the town at night, seeing it lit up from the outside, and really just enjoying that Mediterranean peace and quiet that can only be enjoyed once the sun goes down, was just phenomenal. In fact, my favorite restaurant here in Monteriggioni, Ristorante Lettori, is completely closed during the day. So the only way to eat here is to stay past sundown, and it's well worth it. And if you can, hold off and wait to have lunch until maybe 3 o'clock or so, maybe have a big breakfast, then the place will calm down, and I'd highly recommend it. And the last thing for us to see on our Monteriggioni ticket is the Armoury Museum, which has a series of life-size recreations of the different types of armor that would have been used in Monteriggioni over the ages. Though confusingly, they also have a lot of armor kind of on tables for you to hold and use, with a lot of signs saying, "Don't hold and use them." I wonder what happened there. And the gift shop is hilarious because they're selling child-sized weapons that look like they could actually do a little bit of damage. Definitely things I wouldn't trust a child with. What child needs a mace? I mean, if you have a child that goes to this museum and wants you to buy them a little mace, you know you're getting hit in the knees. And so I don't know about you guys, but I think that will do it for this video. Dreams have come true, memories have been made, I walked on some old walls, and I went on a damn good hike. I mean, this has been one of my favorite days of the entire Italian extravaganza. And I hope you've really enjoyed it too. If you have, then you know what to do. You need to go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Tell them there's this cool small channel that doesn't get any views, but makes pretty damn good videos, and that they should watch as well. If you're looking for something else to watch, then may I recommend the rest of this pilgrimage hiking series if you haven't seen that, or anything else from this Italian trip, because I think this is coming out near the end. Thank you so much for watching and coming on this journey with us so far. It really has been amazing, and I'll see you in the next video, whatever that might be.